All right, end of day 2 for the ultimate 60-day SMMA sprints, and basically what we're going to be doing is getting out of operations and reflecting on the day for each individual day. And so today, one of the major lessons I want to be covering is qualification on sales calls. I took a sales call today, hopped on, the guy was super type A, didn't even want to share his screen with me, didn't want to answer any of my questions, wanted to know exactly what it is that we do. And so there are couple different ways that we can go around these situations and continue with the sales call. But to be quite honest with you guys, the best clients of ours and the ones that we have signed who may not even have been the best clients, but they've just been pretty rock solid, they just allowed us to go through the process. They understood, hey, I know you need to ask us questions, completely understandable, let's do it, right? So every single time a prospect has been super type A, just wouldn't even allow us to ask any questions or answer any of our questions. We never ever ended up working with them, and so I knew this call was cooked to begin with. And there are a couple of different ways, again, that we can go about handling this situation, and I'll share a few of them with you guys. But to be honest, you don't want to work. You don't want to work with these people. They're just unbearable. And so he was like, 20 seconds in, what is it that you guys do? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, for sure, I'm going to break down, everything on this call. But I just want to ask you a few questions about your company because we are pretty selective about ours. That's why we have a pretty high success rate. Sound cool? Sweet. Now, it's really important to mention that we are very selective because that basically explicitly state or implicitly states scarcity. We actually value what we do. We just don't take everyone on. And so he continued to persist on that call and ask me what we do even after I said that. And I was like, how much does, and I used his own analogy against him in roofing. And I was like, how much does my roof cost? And he was like, well, we're going to need to come out and measure him. And I stopped him and I'm like, oh, okay, so you do need information in order to give me an estimate about my roof, right? And he was just kind of like negligent of the entire process. He didn't even get the analogy because I then bridged that and I was like, well, cool, man, the same exact way that you sell roofs and put together an inspection for your in-person appointments, exact same thing here. We need to know a little bit more about you, where you're at, what you've done, where you want to go, your goals, so that we can reverse engineer them. And that starts with asking and answering a couple of our questions. Cool. And the guy persisted. And again, I knew the call was cooked to begin with. If you're in sales or if you're running your own agency, which I'm assuming that you are, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. You don't want to work with these types of people. And what ended up happening was within 8 minutes at the end, I was like, all right, cool, man. This isn't going to work out. Best of luck. And that's how the call ended. But you cannot get attached to those calls or to these people or take anything personally. Now, it's really hard to convince people of things they can't see. Now, changing this person's beliefs and mindsets is a very difficult thing, and it's not even worth the headache because at the end of the day, they wouldn't even be a good client to begin with. So that's how that call ended. But before that call, an important thing to do is qualify. Throughout the B2B setting process or sales process, you want to do everything in your power to make sure that you're only speaking with qualified people. Now, this prospect did seem legit, seemed qualified, and didn't push back on the initial setting call. So the money checked out, the jobs a month checked out, his location checked out, everything checked out. And there's only so much, guys, that you can do before, taking your sales calls qualification-wise. But at the end of the day, no matter how much money you're spending or how little money that you're spending on ads, you're still going to get tire kickers and just people that are just full of crap through your funnel. That's how it goes. That's the game, and you just have to learn how to deal with it. And of course, minimize that risk as much as possible before taking these sales calls. So that's typically, how I would go about handling these prospects, putting them in their place, holding them accountable, taking frame. Don't let them ever take frame. And that's pretty much that. Again, it does start with the entire B2B setting process, though. So we want to make sure that that is rock solid and you have everything in place there. And in addition to that, we had another MRR come in today, 1.5K. So that's 3K between yesterday and today. And again, the entire point of this 60-day sprint is to kind of just recap on the days, give you guys some quick golden nuggets into different business tactics, and go from 48K a month right now to 70, 80 in consistent MRR, and build a really cool foundation so that we can get out of operations. But that is day 2 of the sprint, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.